And tonight, NPP minority slams John Mahama administration, labeling it a dictatorship as they vow to escalate their protest against the continued detention of its Ashanti regional chairman.
The minority in parliament stands united, resolute, and unafraid. This work is not the end. It is the beginning of a multiplicity of factors and actions to be staged in the days ahead of us. It is only the beginning. A beginning of vigilance, a beginning of resistance.
And we hear how Chairman Wontumi allegedly collapsed while being interrogated by officials of the Economic and Organized Crime Office.
He was seized like a fugitive, much like a criminal, and hauled into detention without any dignity or respect owed to any citizen, let alone one who had not resisted the law. And what was the result? He collapsed.
We'll take you live to the premises of the Economic and Organized Crimes Office, where our reporters are standing by. The minority is also sitting in there or standing now, insisting they will not leave until Chairman Wontumi is let go. Also tonight, government set to plug constitutional loopholes in procedure for future removal of a Chief Justice.
There are just two key words there: stated misbehavior and incompetence. Those two words, I've tried to look for the meanings in the Constitution. I haven't seen the meanings in the Constitution, and there's no statute that really defines what it is.
We'll tell you about the new legislative framework and what it will mean for the independence of the judiciary.
In business, ENI Ghana and its partners start oil drilling in Sankofa East Track 2 offshore, a development expected to increase oil production in the country.
And as well, we hear from the head coach of the Black Stars, Coach Eto'o, following Ghana's defeat to Nigeria, with his promise to make the most of the lessons learned from that loss. You
want to stay with us with your views and comments, and I want to hear you on that developing story still breaking from the premises of the Yoko. 055-11-11997. Details up to this. It's a live on News Night. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. The NPP minority tonight still in search of the party's Ashanti regional chairman, Bernard Entry Boisiako, known popularly as Chairman Wontumi, and has in the last few hours camped at the Economic and Organized Crimes Office demanding his release.
And help us to resist oppressors with all our will and might forevermore. And help us to resist oppressors with all our will and might forevermore. We are the new, resist oppressors with all our will and might forevermore.
And a short while ago, we're learning that the party is now getting a bit more of its supporters to the Economic and Organized Crimes Office, in addition to the minority members from Parliament already there standing, sitting, insisting that Chairman Wontumi is released. The General Secretary has also just joined, and they are insisting they will not leave until he is let go. We'll take it there pretty shortly. But just before we came on air, the party's, the minority chief whip, Anna Dompre, addressed the media, detailing what they claim happened to Chairman Wontumi when he was interrogated, and how they claim it is only a sign of what they call a dictatorship.
We are not here to shield wrongdoing. And let me emphasize that. We are not here to shield any wrongdoing whatsoever. We are not here, again, to obstruct investigations. But we are here because a line has been crossed. A dangerous, unacceptable line that signals that state of power can now be used to humiliate, traumatize, and silence citizens under the pretext of justice. Ladies and gentlemen, let us be clear. This was not an arrest. It was a clear ambush. It was a calculated display of brute force. A man who voluntarily submitted himself to the CID in good faith, who was cooperating fully with lawful investigations, was less than 24 hours later subjected to militarized operation straight out of dictatorship playbook. He was seized like a fugitive, much like a criminal, and hauled into detention without any dignity or respect owed to any citizen, let alone one who had not resisted the law. And what was the result? He collapsed. He was hospitalized. His health broke under the sheer weight of Yoko's cruelty. Is this what justice looks like in Ghana today? Is this what our democracy has become? Chairman Wontumi may be the target today, but make no mistake, this is not just about him. This is about a dangerous pattern that is emerging under this government. The misuse of state institutions to settle political scores, the erosion of impartiality in our law enforcement agencies, and the growing culture of fear and silence that is being imposed on our political discourse. We cannot, and we will not. We will not allow Yoko, the NIB, the police, or any state agency to be weaponized for political intimidation. We will not allow our democracy to be defiled by power-drunk actors who believe they are above the law. And we will not allow the Ghanaian people to be deceived into thinking that this is ordinary justice at work.
Well, for the first time, we're hearing from the minority what they have planned next. Well, Anodon Press says this is just a beginning of a long, drawn-out protest that will spread across the country.
What we witnessed was the abuse of the law by those entrusted to uphold it. What we witnessed was a shameful chapter in our democratic journey, one that we must resist, reject, and remember. The minority in Parliament stands united, resolute, and unafraid. We will continue to speak power, truth to power. We will continue to walk the path of justice, no matter the cost, even at the peril of our lives, because we believe that Ghana must never be a country where political differences are punished with persecution, where opposition is met with oppression, where speaking out means being dragged out. Ladies and gentlemen, this work is not the end. It's the beginning of a multiplicity of factors and actions to be staged in the days ahead of us. It is only the beginning, a beginning of vigilance, a beginning of resistance, a beginning of people rising to reclaim the soul of this republic from those who trade in it for control. The Yoko, well, to the Yoko, to this government, and to those watching, we say this. The emphasis is mine. We say this. The minority is watching. The people are watching. History is watching.
And that is another prayer. I want to take you live now to the premises of the Economic and Organized Crimes Office. And as I watch now, I see there is some activity now that appears to be gaining a bit momentum there, and my colleague Kweku Asante is there for me, joining us with what is happening. But also James Aveji is also in a different part around the same enclave, giving us a different perspective on that. James, Kweku joining me right now. Also joining me is a former state prosecutor, Augustine Obo, joining me also tonight as we begin to unpack what is happening and get to the bottom of this. Stay with me. I want to bring Kweku in. Kweku, I've seen that there's some activity now beginning to swell up at the premises of the Yoko. What can you tell us? What's happening? What's the latest?
That activity was a signal of the end of the activities as we've seen here. The members of Parliament who worked from Parliament but had their drivers bring over their vehicles have now gone into their vehicles and just left. A moment ago, the minority leader, Alexander Fenyo-Makin, boarded the same vehicle as the minority chief whip, Frank Anodombre, and then together with about 4 Land Cruisers of other members of parliament, they've just formed a convoy, and they have just left the premise of Yoko. Just 2 minutes ago also, the General Secretary, who joined in about 10 minutes ago, had also just departed. And so the members of parliament have ended the awards here at Yoko without having had access to Chairman Wontumi and without having heard directly from any of the top brass of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, who did not come out to meet them, despite the minority leadership insisting that they need to see them before they will leave here. And so they've been here for a little over 3 hours, and they've ended their vigil, sort of, which has been in here in the afternoon. And so the members of parliament have just boarded their vehicles. A lot of them who did not bring their vehicles are joining that of their colleagues who brought their vehicles here, and they are leaving. The party supporters themselves are also beginning to leave at the vehicle. Begin to leave with party supporters. Then now, primarily, in fact, I'm seeing members of parliament who are in the bucket of one of the pickups that is just leaving. The member of parliament for New Job and South, member of parliament for Suhum, all of them in the bucket of a vehicle that is going to go to parliament because we are now leaving this place for this. But I understand that the party insists that tomorrow they will be here to continue their protest and to lead the charge to get Chairman to be released. Just before you came to me and just before this new development started coming up, I had just been told by someone very close to the lawyers for Chairman to me that they had closed the day's attempt to meet the bill conditions and that they were not successful in meeting the bill conditions, and Yoko were not backing down on reviewing the bill conditions. Asked whether or not they will be taking the route to the High Court that had been advised by the First Deputy Speaker in the chair in Parliament. They were a little coy about that, except to say that they continue to demand that the Yoko revises the bill condition and release Chairman Wontumi. So everyone's two things. The members of Parliament, together with the party leadership who came here, have just now begun to disperse. They've begun to leave the space, and they are joining vehicles, some of them sitting in the back of pickups to make their way back to Parliament for a close of the day's event. The second update is that it's a close of day. They were not able to meet the bill conditions for Chairman Wontumi, and Chairman Wontumi is assured will be in custody of Yoko at least for the next 8 hours up until tomorrow, when lawyers and families will begin to try again to see if they can meet the very stringent bill condition of 50 million cedis and 2 sureties to be justified.
And Kweku, but the minority, when they first arrived, they were very clear when they talked to you that they were going to stay there tonight until they secure the release of Chairman Wontumi. How did it come about that they changed their mind so quickly, a few hours after they arrived, and they have now left?
Well, I suspect it may be because they've just not been successful in getting to speak to any officers of Yoko. As they began to disperse, I did dig on to the minority leader and his chief whip to try and get some understanding from them as to why exactly they are doing so. Because while they were on the floor, the minority leader did insist quite forcefully that they are going to be here for quite a long time to drum home the demand. In fact, at some point, the information we're getting was that they were perhaps going to be lying on the road this very evening to press home that demand. At some point, plastic chairs were brought. Members of Parliament began taking their seats on these plastic chairs right in front of the Yoko offices. But after about 3 hours, 30 minutes of waiting to try and see if they can talk to officials of Yoko, in particular, they were mentioning Raymond Arthur, the executive director of Yoko, without success, and their demand for the bill conditions to be revised, all without any success. I guess the party top brass have decided to advise themselves and leave and come back to fight another day. But the situation now is that the police are now taking over the situation following the members of Parliament leaving. We are now asking party supporters and others who are packed motorbikes in the middle of the road right opposite Yoko to move, and so that they can move the party supporters to the other side of the road. In fact, the route control vans and other things that have already been here have now started moving to the frontage of the Yoko headquarters, and the motorbikes are now moving away to the next side of the road. They are attempting to free the double carriage road right in front of Yoko, which has been blocked by the minority leadership since they came here to drum home the demand for Chairman Wontumi to be released. As to what exactly has led to the minority leadership and the party supporters to have a change of plans and to now leave despite the pledge to stay here overnight, we cannot say for now. But the watch is over. The members of Parliament have left, and party supporters are beginning to also disperse.
And quickly, you mentioned when he was seated on the floor, I'm talking about the minority leader together with his other colleagues, what he told the press. This is what you're referring to.
Yoko is saying that they are better than CID headquarters. Those in charge must be professional. What is happening to me can happen to me today, tomorrow. It can happen to my respected senior here, tomorrow. My mother here. Enough is enough. We are not just going to walk away. We are not just going to walk away. We'll be here. We'll be here.
So, since you came, have you had any word?
No further comments. I've made my point. Thank you very much.
So that there is Alexander Fenyo marking earlier, a couple of hours back, when they decided to sit on the floor, insisting that they will be there. But as you just heard Kweku tell us, they have left now from the premises of the Economic and Organized Crimes Office. We're trying to get clarity from the minority why they've changed their initial stance on this particular matter. They sat on the floor for a while. Chairs were brought in at some point. Then they began to walk up and down that stretch in front of Yoko, and then they decided now to stand right in front of the Yoko office. And just before they left, they were actually holding hands together with the General Secretary of the NPP, and were very determined to stay there tonight, as you've just heard him say just about 2 hours ago. But they've now changed their stance on the matter and have left the premises of the Yoko. My colleague Aveji is also within that same enclave and has also been monitoring how this is affecting commuters there, creating traffic, and many of you are heading home and using that area. He's joining us with an update. And you've been talking to party supporters who also join the minority and the party executives, but also observing what this had meant for the entire enclave. And we know that's a very, very busy area, James.
Yes, Evans, exactly. I will talk to you about the conversations among party members shortly, but as regards the traffic situation, I must say that the police have been doing a great job in directing traffic here. And just as I'm speaking to you, the first couple of vehicles are now moving on the two stretches in front of the Yoko building. From about 4 p.m., the road, which is the Atamel's High Street, right at the traffic light in front of the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, was close to traffic. Both lanes were close to traffic. For those who use here, cars coming from the Central Business District, which is the AMA area towards the Atamel's High Street, there are 2 lanes. All of those 2 lanes have been blocked. In fact, the police vehicles, the FP vehicles, as well as the water cannons, have taken one full stretch of the roads, whereas the other where the MPs have been sitting. For those moving from the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum traffic lights towards the AMA, that part of the road, which is a 2-lane, have also been blocked since 4 p.m. up until just a minute ago when the police have opened traffic. But what they did was, for all of the cars coming from the AMA, when they get to the hockey pitch junction here, they would have to take their left towards the Tama Station area and then take their right to the NLA frontage and continue with their journey onto the Atamel's High Street. And those coming from the High Street would also use same route back to the hockey pitch junction here and then move towards the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. And traffic have been flowing smoothly, except for the exact time that they closed the road. That was when things went a bit chaotic, but the police had moved in to direct traffic smoothly and things are under control. And so now I can confirm to you and listeners who use this route that the entire stretch has been opened, and so traffic has come back to normal. About the conversation between the party folks, Evans, while things were ongoing, the MPs were sitting down on the street chatting. The party folks were also having conversations among themselves. It became an NDC NPP conversation, charged conversation. Some were supporting what the MPs were doing, while others were in opposition to it. They said this is uncalled for and that there's a proper courtesy to address this.
it was fascinating the level of knowledge some of them have about this issue. There are some who are here who are not party members, just general members of the public. One of them tells me he's here as a Tuesday when Chairman Wuntumi was here. There were some sharing of money, which he got a substantial amount from here. And so that's the main reason he is here, waiting on them to see if that those goodies could come again. And so varied members of the public were here for different reasons. For now, everybody is filing off briefly the police visibility, those police officers who are using the police visibility motorbikes. Dozens of them are in the middle of the road as the public is filing past as we speak. And so the crowd is dispersing briefly, and we'll be here to see how things turn out. But tomorrow morning, we'll be here to see how they proceed with that again, Evans.
James, thank you very much. And so if you want to use that area, the Accra Central Business District area, the Yoko offices, as you just heard Abeji say, it's now open to traffic. I know many of you are trying to find other routes in and out of that particular enclave. I want to bring in Augustine Gobo. He is a former state prosecutor and lawyer, joins us on the line right now. Mr. Gobo, thank you very much for staying with us. The fundamental concern and complaint of the minority is that, yes, he's been granted bail, Chairman Wuntumi, but it was granted bail in the sum of 50 million. And they believe that is simply an excuse to continue to detain him because he's definitely going to struggle to come up with that. What do you make of that complaint? Are they right to suggest that this, although every offense in this country is bailable, the state finds ways, such as hefty bail conditions, to still hold on to individuals because they want to do so? Well, what's your take on that?
Good evening to your listeners. I don't think this is a difficulty. At the beginning, if they could have gone to court for the bail when they sensed that danger was coming, they could have gone to court for variation of the bail bond given to them, and the court would have substituted a court bail for it. Because the law says that within 48 hours, if you cannot release the person on bail, you release the person on bail, not to grant bail, release the person on bail, then you have to take the person to court. So by granting the person bail, in the sum of 50 million Ghana cedis, if the person cannot secure it, then you are bound to take the person to court. The person can also go to court that you are violating my right by keeping me in custody or granting me a bail condition that I cannot fulfill. So his lawyers could have gone to court for variation of the bail terms. And in such situation, the court would have substituted its own bail for the accused person or for the suspect. Because it's now a suspect, he has not been charged. So instead of all this that they are doing, they could have gone to the court. Just attach the bail information to the court.
I mean, that will take some time, right? That will take some time, at least another day or two.
No. He has been granted bail. In fact, he's been granted bail by them, but he has not been released. So they could have gone to court. The law allows them to go to court for variation of the court bail or of the bail.
How quickly can they
secure that? And that would have been easier for them.
How quickly could they have secured
that? And that is why I'm always saying that I always prefer court bail. I always prefer court bail to police bail. They could have gone to court from morning when they sensed that danger was coming. And when I heard it yesterday that 50 million, I thought Wuntumi could easily provide 50 million. But if it has become difficult, because he can also deposit the money. It doesn't have to be a property alone, he can deposit the money. And I thought Wuntumi was going to provide a 50 million check so that he will go home. But if it is becoming difficult for him, then they could have gone to court for a court bail.
But on a bigger point,
he doesn't have to call for.
On a bigger point, is 50 million a fair bail condition?
When you are involved in 500 million, scandal or anything, they can give you 50 million. Is that 10%? So it depends. It depends on. I am not aware of what has happened there. So if they have allegation or if they have evidence or they have facts supposing that the money involved is 500 million and they have given you 10%, they have given. But look, it is a police bail. It is not a court bail. You can always go to court. So I don't actually understand why they are going over this matter as if the end has come. No, they could have gone to court from yesterday. They could have gone to court. A court would have granted bail. For all you know, a court could have granted bail if you check the bail which was granted to Edubuahi. The court could have granted bail in such a circumstance that they could have been executed. Now, when you are getting yourself involved in a larger sum, then you must secure some money that if there should be explosion, you can use that money to secure your freedom.
Oh, guys, thank you.
Because normally it is a percentage of it.
I'm grateful
that the court will look at it for the bail.
I'm grateful that you join us with that clarification on that subject. He is a former state prosecutor. And you're still live here on Newsline on Joy 99.7 FM. As you've just been hearing from our reporters on the ground, the minority, they have dispersed now, although they had indicated before that they will stay there until they secure the release of Chairman Wontumi. Charles Oredu is MP for Ebrim. He was there. I saw him also seated on the floor. Charles, I'm grateful that you could join us here on Newsnight. You have dispersed. Why?
Well, yes. Thank you for the opportunity. All right. So this matter that to do with legally and politically. If I heard what the other, panelists or the person interviewed earlier, he was looking at it legally, and that is really what we are doing. So legally, I want to ask a lawyer. So it's legal to, looking at it legally. They go to court and receive the bond can be buried. But politically, we are also enjoying to also pursue this matter politically. Yeah, because if you look at the issues clearly, it's a political return. Why must you set this bond to that figure? It's so honorable. Again, we make the point that Mahama to me is a new person. Who doesn't know Mahama in Ghana? If you go to Kumasi, if you come to Accra, he has some business concerns that people know where he can easily be located. So why do you stage this whole thing to make it look like Chairman to me is somebody who, when left, can abscond? We don't think that this is the right to approach this matter. Again, we've also made the case that Chairman to me not well. His doctors, we were told today that the doctors have come out to say that he's not well. So he should be allowed, to have medical care. Why are medical so comfortable? So why are medical so difficult?
Yeah, I mean, so from everything I've heard you say, you still have serious concerns about his whereabouts, how he's been treated. It comes back to my original question. Why have you dispersed then?
So, we done with today. We came to make a point to make to let Ghana know, to let the officials of Yoko and all those who are following this matter know that this is what we are talking about. These are the issues they are raising. Yeah, so we've gone back to Parliament to assess what we've done today, and then take it up from tomorrow. Remember, we started in Parliament on the floor. The leader of Parliament, Maki, raised this matter with the Speaker. The Speaker gave some responses, but we thought that, the responses were not adequate. And then from there, we marched to the offices of Yoko. So we are back in Parliament trying to assess the situation, and then we'll take it up from tomorrow.
Thank you very much. And that there is Charles Oredu, who is MP for Ebrim, speaking to us about what is happening with Chairman Wontumi. So live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. I'll be sharing your thoughts with the rest of the world pretty shortly. But we can do some business now, and James is here.
Hi, Evans. Also coming up in business this evening, ENI Ghana and its partners start oil drilling in Sankofa East Track 2 offshore, a development expected to increase oil production in the country, and government hint of removing more taxes and levies in the 2025 media budget review to boost compliance. We hear from the presidential advisor on the economy, Seth Tekbe. Now, business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all office essentials, Syntex tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. I am James Ishan. Let's settle for the details now. First off, ENI Ghana, together with its partners Vitol Upstream Ghana Limited and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, has kicked off the Sankofa East Side Track 2, marking a significant milestone in the further development of Ghana's upstream energy sector. The following report has more.
The Deep Value Driller, a state-of-the-art drill ship, has started activities offshore Ghana following completion of operations in Côte d'Ivoire. Equipped with advanced automated technology, the rig ranks among the most advanced in the world in operational performance and safety. A statement from ENI said the activity reflects the partners' ongoing commitment to unlocking additional value from the offshore Cape 3 Point block, ensuring long-term production, sustainability, and contributing to Ghana's energy security. Ahead of the campaign, ENI and its partners, Vitol and GNPC, carried out comprehensive stakeholder engagement programs along Ghana's coastline to ensure open communication and promote collaboration with communities.
And that was a news desk report. Now, government has hinted at plans to rationalize certain taxes and levies in the upcoming 2025 media budget review as part of effort to improve tax compliance and efficiency. Speaking at the Graphic EcoBank Economic Forum in Accra, Presidential Advisor on the Economy, Seth Tekbe, emphasized on the need to simplify the structure by revisiting the more streamlined approach that existed before the introduction of the value-added tax.
When you are doing tax reform, you do it, gingerly, because if you are not careful, you also erode the tax. So the levies that were removed is phase one. As somebody said, there's a VAT study that has been done, all of them. And so the media review, and in the budget and going forward, some of the levies, more levies will have to be removed, just as we did pre-Kumipepo, post-Kumipepo. We are only going back and reintroducing the tax regime that we had, before the VAT was introduced. We only have to clean it and make it neat so that businesses stop adding the levies, all the number of levies.
Seth Tekbe as the presidential advisor on the economy. Now, Sidi Ould Tah of Mauritania has been elected president of the African Development Bank Group at the bank's annual meetings held in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. The following report has more.
Tah was elected by the bank's board of governors, comprising finance and economic ministers, all central bank governors of the bank group's 81 regional and non-regional member countries. The board is the highest decision-making authority for the bank group. The results were announced by Niale Kaba, Minister of Planning and Development for Côte d'Ivoire and the chairman of the board of governors of the bank group. The winning candidate is required to obtain at least 50.01% of both the regional and non-regional votes. A Mauritanian national, Tah brings over 35 years of experience in African and international finance. He served as president of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa for 10 years, from 2015, where he led a full transformation that quadrupled the bank's balance sheet, secured a AAA rating, and positioned it among the top-rated development banks focused on Africa.
That was a news desk report. Finally, the Chartered Institute of Restructuring and Insolvency Practitioners has bemoaned the culture of appointing family and friends as directors, especially among small and medium companies. Felix Ado, president of the institute, explained that the practice often hinders the development of small and medium indigenous companies into large and global companies, leading to its collapse. He spoke at a public lecture organized by the institute on the theme Unlocking Business Resilience, how CIRA empowers companies to recover from distress and thrive.
The husband, the wife being the board directors, and then the daughter being the treasurer, and probably the son being the company secretary. That was then. Now, as a company secretary, the law requires you to have particular education, training, and the law lists very specific requirements as to what a company secretary does. Okay, so it can't be just your daughter or your son or a friend who you enter as a company secretary. No, because the company secretary is the basis, is the gatekeeper of good governance for the company.
Felix Addo is the president of the Chartered Institute of Restructuring and Insolvency Practitioners. And that's all for business on Newsnight with me, James Ishan. Over to Evans.
James, thank you very much. Still live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. I'll be sharing your messages on the stories you've had so far with you shortly. And you can send me your messages. 055-1111-997 is the WhatsApp line that you can send your messages to. You're still live here on Newsnight. I want to take you to Parliament now, where today there has been some more details thrown out about the intention by government now to give clarity around the rules for the removal of the Chief Justice. We've been hearing a bit more from the Majority Leader, Mahama, who first dropped that hint on Tuesday that the government will be coming to Parliament with some proposals around what to do and the clarity around some of the procedures specified in Article 146 in the Constitution for the removal of the Chief Justice in the wake of the controversy that the current process surrounding the suspended Chief Justice Tokono has generated. Listen to him in an interview with my colleague, Kweku Asante.
Removal of Supreme Court judges, starting from the EC chairperson when she was removed, to subsequent petitions, some of which were dismissed, until this present situation that we have of the sitting Chief Justice being taken through the process, have generated public interest and debate, and lawyers and jurists have had their bite. I as a lawyer, have also looked at it, and there are just two key words there: stated misbehavior and incompetence. Those two words, I've tried to look for the meanings in the Constitution. I haven't seen the meanings in the Constitution, and there's no statute that really defines what it is. And the Constitution simply says that the 5 people should take a decision on what it is. And if they are satisfied that a particular conduct amounts to stated misbehavior and a particular level of performance of one's task can be described as incompetence. And even then, the 5 should not be lawyers, all of them. 2 should be Supreme Court judges. The other 3 should not be lawyers, should not be members of parliament, should not be members of council of state. They should be ordinary citizens, and the Constitution leaves it in their hands to decide what stated misbehavior and what incompetence are. Some people have said, no, we need to legislate on that. We need to further elaborate and all that. It might be helpful to do so, but the framers of the Constitution knew exactly what they were doing when they crafted it that way. So let's see what it is that the Justice Ministry thinks about it and will bring before us.
The Majority Leader has also been responding to questions about capping the Supreme Court after the President nominated 7 new justices to the highest court.
Yeah, there's been a lot of argument about the need for capping the number of the Supreme Court judges, but there's also always been a pushback in terms of the workload. And I recall that when we're even vetting the current Chief Justice, I had a proposal that we should have a separate constitutional court. In some jurisdictions, you see, what you call the Supreme Court is actually the constitutional court. And as a constitutional court, they focus only on constitutional matters. But the argument has always been that our Supreme Court is both an appeals court and a constitutional court. So the cases that gain prominence are the constitutional matters, which are not many. And it gives a misleading perception that the work is not that much. Why do we need all these numbers? But
let's get a bit more on this proposal that may come before Parliament, as we've just heard the Majority Leader say, and Mayor Parliamentary Correspondent. Very briefly, what more have we learnt about what government may bring before the House?
Can you say that again?
What more have we learnt about this, constitutional provision that government intends to provide some clarity about when it comes to removal of Chief Justice? We've heard from the Majority Leader. Do you have any more specifics on this?
Not yet. Our understanding is that the minister himself in the coming days will come to Parliament with this legislation. Only that the specific question I asked the Majority Leader on this is, what exactly is the details? Do they intend to amend the Constitution, or they intend to come by way of some subsidiary legislation? And he confirmed that will be a subsidiary legislation, either a bill or a regulation, but it's more likely going to be a regulation. As to when exactly it's going to come, we do not know. But like you heard him say there, the two expectations will be to define stated misbehavior and incompetence, as well as lay the step-by-step process that petitioners and the state have to go through when petitions are lodged against Superior Court judges.
And thank you very much. And we'll get you some latest information we are getting around this Chairman Wongtumi matter pretty shortly on possibly the charges that have been filed against him and why he is currently still in the custody, we believe, of the Economic and Organized Crimes Office. We can do some sports now, and Ms. Bao is here with the latest.
Evans was just 1 day away from the Hit FM Rep Your Jersey, the big club football festival happening at the Aviation Social Centre this Saturday, and that's where we'll be watching the finals of the Champions League, Inter Milan versus Paris Saint-Germain, and there's going to be a host of activities that will be happening on the day. It's going to start from 12 noon, even pretty much early in the morning, all the way till the game ends, and some after party that will still take place there, and hopefully everybody will make their way there. But yesterday, Ghana lost to Nigeria by 2-1 in the second semi-final game of the Unity Cup, and head coach Otuado just mentioned that he did pick some vital lessons from that game ahead of Ghana's World Cup qualifier in September. Particularly, though, he was impressed with some young players who made the most of the chance that was handed to them.
The first half we were not aggressive enough. It didn't make click from the team. Like I said, it's not always easy, especially if we haven't played that often together. I think Nigeria had a more matured team who can maybe adapt faster. And we had problems, to get into the duels, to press well, but also to defend well. But second half was really good. I have to say, even though we lost, I'm happy for the second half. Really saw some talents, like I said, I don't want to mention names, but we really took some players, really saw them really positive, and looking forward to see them again.
That's head coach Otuado there. And just a few transfer updates. And Maximiliano Allegri, as we understand, has signed a contract to become AC Milan's new manager. And we understand he's going to be back to the club with all agreements having been put in place now. And also Chelsea, we understand, have also agreed to sign Ipswich striker Liam Delap. The striker has a £30 million release clause, and Chelsea have activated that, and we understand that Enzo Maresca was particularly interested in this player.
So Delap is going to Chelsea.
He's going to Chelsea.
I'm very, very happy.
Why? United wanted him.
We obviously, he's not a player that we should be spending. We have too many of those players on strikers who coming. Already. We currently.
But he's a decent player. It was Ipswich Town, scored 12 goals and
12 goals.
Yes, at Ipswich Town
in a season.
Ipswich Town.
And you want to buy him to solve your striking
Ipswich
problem.
Town, is decent. 23 years of age.
Another team in the EPL will fall for it. So it's good that he's
well, for Arsenal, though, we understand they are closing in on the Benjamin Sesko deal.
They've given up on Gyökeres?
Well, they've got an eye on him, but we understand they are also interested in Benjamin Sesko. So I'm sure they are weighing the two to see which one will be quite affordable for them. But you want to go for
Gyökeres, yes.
Oh, you want to go for him?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see.
So it's good that they're looking elsewhere.
Okay,
You know,
we'll
he
see.
worked with Amorim, so.
Yeah. Anyway, well, that's some updates I have for you, Evans.
Thank you very, very much. Now, MP for Abetifi Brian Champon has formed an exploratory committee to assess a potential presidential bid ahead of the party's upcoming primaries. Now, the former Greek minister, in a statement, cited calls from party members and extensive consultations with family and supporters as key factors in his decision. The committee, tasked with engaging stakeholders and grassroots members, will evaluate the alignment of his vision with the aspirations of the NPP. Now, a report is expected within 4 weeks. My colleague Elton Broby gives us a wrap of what else is contained in that particular statement.
Well, the committee, he knows, will engage with grassroots members, key stakeholders and constituents across the country to elevate whether his vision aligns with the aspiration of the party and the Ghanaian people. The committee, according to him, is expected to present its findings within 4 weeks. Now, he says that this dedicated committee shares his commitment not only to discipline and unity within the party, but also job creation, food security, youth and infrastructure development, safety and security, and good governance within the country. Dr. Champon described his journey in the NPP as lifelong and deeply personal, citing his experience as a grassroots organizer, party staffer, 4-term member of parliament, cabinet minister, and a long-time party financier. These roles, he says, and experiences have granted him invaluable insight into the sacrifice, dedication, and strategic vision required to build and sustain the foundation of the NPP. And he affirms his loyalty to the NPP and expressed confidence in the party's ability to overcome current challenges and lead Ghana to a brighter future.
But has he got what it takes to beat the party's 2024 flag bearer, Mahmoud Bawumia, should he finally decide to contest? Well, the former vice president has sadly urged party delegates to re-elect him as a flag bearer. This comes after he told party supporters in London earlier this morning that it is difficult to win the presidency as a first-time candidate, seemingly expressing confidence of leading the party to victory as a candidate in 2028.
If you look at our political history, our political history suggests that it is usually very difficult for a first-time presidential candidate to win an election in Ghana. I don't know why that is, but Ghanaians want you to come more than one. So there is a sense that in 2028, NDC is going to bring a candidate for the first time. I believe we will have an advantage, all things being equal, over that new candidate coming in 2028. I believe we will have a very big advantage. The second set of reasons that I believe we are going to win is because NDC is actually in government. Why do I say so? In opposition, they made so many promises and told a lot of stories about what they were going to do. And they've now come into government. It's not easy to do propaganda when you are in government. It's very easy to do propaganda in opposition.
And that there is the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. For years, pupils at Kupeliga Basic School knelt and sat on bare floors to learn. But after JoyNews highlighted their plight in the Crumbling Start series, help finally came. The National Security Coordinator, DCOP Abdul Osman Razak, has donated desks and pledged to build a new classroom block for the school. Emmanuel Jivenu reports from the Talingsi district of the Upper East region.
For years, pupils of Kupeliga Basic School in the Talingsi district of the Upper East region sat on the bare floor to learn.
Yes. We don't have chairs, that's why we are sitting in the floor like that. As we ourselves, our mothers cannot buy chairs for us. We are not happy at all.
I'm not happy because I have not have chairs.
Their plight was highlighted on JoyNews as part of the education series Crumbling Start. Soon after, the National Security Coordinator, DCOP Abdul Osman Razak, responded. Hakeem Duwijwa is the Deputy Director of Human Security and the National Security.
To the students, know this. We see you, we hear you, and we are with you. You are the future of this nation, and we will not let the future sit on the floor.
In all, 60 monodecks and 5 teachers' tables were donated to the school. There is also a promise to renovate the existing building and construct a new classroom block for the pupils.
We will renovate this structure and build a permanent one in addition to that. But more for us.
For the chief of Kupalaga, the sight of children finally seated at desks brought overwhelming joy.
I was very, very excited whenever I visit this school. But now, they make like I rush from my seat bed. So thank you, National Security. Thank you, School for Life. Thank you, JoyNews.
Receiving the furniture on behalf of the Talensi District Directorate of Education, Charles Zoga said, the donation marks an important beginning, but emphasized the need for continued support.
Having this here is the first step, a quick response to the needs of our children and the needs of our staff as well.
Blessed Doc, one of the pupils, expressed her gratitude for the support that finally brought dignity to their classroom.
We thank you, National Security. We thank you, School for Life. We thank JoyNews for making this possible.
The school still needs more teachers, more books, and housing for staff. For pupils like Justice and Blessing, the ground would no longer be their desk. They would now sit with dignity and learn with a future insight. Emmanuel Jivenu, JoyNews, Kupalaga, Talensi District, Upper East Region.
And just before we go, a few of your messages on our WhatsApp console. Now, Abla Rose says, after 8 years of bad governance and economic mismanagement, when the reset button has been set in motion and Ghanaians are enjoying everything good in governance, demonstration is what the minority can resort to. And this from Eunice says, there is something you do and even a kid will know your intentions. Why place that hefty bail bond on Wontumi when you know he is not a flight risk? Please, Mr. President, can your men call your men to order? At the time when we used to say, I will show you where power lies, died when we embrace democracy. This is shameful. Mr. President, second chances don't usually happen, show a difference, he says. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening.